What secret codes are all around us that only people in the know recognize? Comcast has an awesome one. If you call the cancellation line and say I would like to cancel my account, they will offer you premium channels and sheet for free. I used to be a Comcast customer service agent some time back. You'd be amazed at how much power you as a customer have. Edit, grammatical correction. When I worked at a supermarket many years ago, we had code 12 which was called on the speakers if they saw a very attractive person in the store. The code would also say where, so for example code 12 bread. We had a code for either 6. Just can't remember the other one. Kitchens and food service places will often have a code for this. At one pizza place I worked for, it was pans to the line. In another pizza place, it was hot fries. Coming out, we didn't sell fries. In Indonesia, whenever you're dealing with anyone working in the government, police officers, custom officers, airport security, etc., when they start talking about how strict the rules are or how they need to meet some sort of quota, that means they're expecting a big bribe. I tend to play dumb and go, oh, okay then. I guess I'll just have to throw this thing out, go to court, not bother getting this document. It's fun watching them panic and try to find a subtle way of asking for a bribe without saying they want a bribe. I was once on a cruise ship and there was an announcement on the tannoy for the crew, Starlight. Starlight. Some were visibly shaken and it caused quite a bit of upset. Later discovered that was code for elderly passenger has died. The QEII had a small longboard mortuary. The Jeep wave. I rode in a Jeep for the first time a few weeks ago and got waved at a few times before I asked what was going on. My wife's Mini Cooper actually has instructions printed in the owner's manual that you are to wave at all other Mini Coopers. Naturally, one of our hobbies is mocking people who wave at us when we're in her car. The more bumper stickers the vehicle has, the artier the driving becomes. Along this line, for Asian restaurants, the artier the service and the more pay at register signs posted everywhere, the better the food. Looking at you. Faux Saigon. When dealing with the Japanese, that will be very difficult means no. When dealing with Saudis, God willing means yeah, probably not gonna do that. In my office, when someone announces, "Your ride's here," that means somebody unidentified has just walked in. It's a closed, private office with no receptionist or public coming and going. If it's nobody we're expecting, it sounds better than somebody just walked in the door. I don't get it. Who exactly are you announcing this to? And is it within earshot of the person being referred to? If so, wouldn't they be confused if they're not picking anyone up? If you hear waiters and waitresses talking about Canadians in the South, they mean black people. Also, if you hear them say they are in the weeders, it means they are so busy they barely know what the duck is going on and need help. When a motorcycle taps his helmet, it means cops up ahead. When a car gives you two quick flashes, it means speed trap ahead. Sometimes it means put your ducking lights on. It's raining. There's the male nod code. I asked a guy what was up with it once and he explained it like this. Down is a nod of respect. Either to acknowledge doing something the nodder approves of, or it denotes a more professional business only relationship. A nod up is more contextual. If the men know each other, the upward nod is like, hey, what's up? I acknowledge that we know each other but have nothing to say right now and or am in a hurry busy. An upward nod can also be disrespectful and aggressive in ways I don't quite grasp. I guess as a display of dominance. Not easy to understand as an outside observer. The color of twist tie on your bread bag indicates which day of the week that bread was made. Easy for grocery stores to spot aging bread on the shelves. Always grab your break and meats and stuff from the back. That is if you don't mind ducking up someone's FIFO setup. But your food will be fresher. Every married couple needs a secret code. Known only to the two of them. That means I'm bored. Let's go home. The code for that is I've got the sheets. We need to leave. Now. Ironically, the code for having the sheets is I'm bored. Let's go home. When you're at a grocery store and you hear 21 on 9, it means the employee at checkout counter 9 is under 21 years and they need someone over 21 to sell the customer liquor. Live in Illinois. Still hear it call out today. Where do you live that you must be 21 to sell booze? Probably in the same area where you have to be that age to drink it. In UK it's 18. At the mall. They taught us to use Nora if someone was being belligerent and we needed to get the cops in here. Nora equals need officer right away. For example, if a guy was at the counter screaming and cursing, threatening us but we couldn't escape, he won't leave and we felt unsafe, we'd ask him to hold while I called a manager. Then I'd get the phone. Call the police station in the mall, legit cops, not mall cops, and say something like, "Hi Nora. This is so and so calling. I have a customer issue I was hoping you can help with." Then hang up and announce the manager was on the way. Cops showed up instead. Not so much anymore, but back when everyone had to be secretive about being gay, there were all kinds of signs and signals. My uncle says he kind of misses those days because it was all like a tightly knit secret club that was strongly bonded because of the mutual mortal terror of HIV/AIDS when it first appeared. Some things are going to vary from place to place. For instance, in Minneapolis, the most popular gay bar in town was right across the street from the downtown public library. And the guys who went there late at night used to park in the library parking lot. So they used going to the library as a code phrase for going to the gay bar. I doubt they do that anymore. K18. K18s exist all around us nowadays. From simple personal annoyances to world-changing events. K18s have been the source of more fallout in my lifetime than any single other code I can think of, and most people don't know what it is. K18 is a tech support error code for a mistake which occurs roughly 18 inches from the keyboard. Edit. Grammar. Few years ago I worked as a nightclub bouncer so I could make some extra cash. The code for all security to the dance floor because shit is erupting riot imminent was for the DJ to play Usher. Yeah. Noticeable because it was an EDM club that had a bad reputation for fighting and the song was so obviously out of place we'd all be alerted. To this day I can't hear the song without getting a surge of adrenaline and getting ready to brawl for my life. Those little numbers and letters all over your electronics actually mean useful things. A programmer can use that information too. Well, program your electronics. Or even debug them. If it's worth it. Although these days people usually just buy something new. The info is there though. If you want to try fixing it instead. The Audi badge is a secret code to all other road users to signal that the driver probably drives like a knobhead. Lawyers know that terms and conditions are code for they will never read this sheet. I'm a police dispatcher and if you hear a 10-100 over the radio that officer is busy in the bathroom, AMD will be 10-8, clear, as soon as he finished up. I read on a Reddit thread about non-verbal cues once that people will have a rising or higher tone at the end of their sentence if they are lying. I now pick up on this and it helps me notice when someone isn't telling the truth in their responses. For example, me, we should get pizza for dinner. So, yeah, that's fine with much higher voice than normal. Me, are you sure? So, it's just that, I don't really feel like pizza, etc. If the price tag ends in 97 cents, the item is on clearance and won't be marked down further. Totally dependent on what chain you're shopping at. For my stores, 0.97 is a regular priced item in the beauty department. Anything ending in 0.94 is clearance. But we will still mark that sheet way down if we have to. I've seen $150 items go for 5.94 because we had one left and it had been stagnating on the shelf for months. If we can get $1 for it, that's $1 more than if we had to throw it out or donate it. If you're in the know, you can tell a lot about homes, businesses, and other commodes based on the plants growing outside if you can identify them. For example, if I see a large patch of dollarweed growing somewhere, I know that spot is getting too much water. I can also tell from the we does which we duckrella, or none, are being used. Then there's certain plants that indicate, shall we say, some places where you could obtain some less than legal goods or services. For example, if you notice lots of Sarracenia surrounding someone's yard or garage, it might be safe to assume that location is trying to deal with a fly problem. What activity could be taking place in a suburban neighborhood that would attract that many flies? Could be a whole bunch of things, but none of them are common and many are nefarious. Of course, certain plants emit smells as well. If you know those smells, you can find things. For example, this past summer while walking through my neighborhood, I detected a faint scent of decaying citrus. This led my nose to a horribly neglected lemon tree growing outside a vacant property. Cleaned my garbage disposal and made it smell nice. Haha. I work at a coffee shop and a few co-workers and I have a secret language to alert each other when an attractive customer walks in. 110 on an application meant no hire. If you draw a downward diagonal line between the 11, you get an N. So 110 becomes no. When I had to remove an unwanted visitor from the lobby, reception would call me and say your FedEx package has arrived. At the night markets in Malaysia, the shop owners give you different colored bags depending on how good of a haggler you are. To warn other shop owners. I worked at a zoo where if one of the admission registers needed more change, they would ask security on the radio for more paper clips. Some of the more cliquish subreddits have little codes and secrets for identifying members across Reddit as a whole. It's honestly pretty ridiculous. Calling the store number means you saw or think you saw a theft. For instance, saying 052 in men's means someone come help me observe this duck who's trying to steal our t-shirts even though they cost $7. In court, a lawyer firmly stating my client was at the library at the time of the murder is subtly different from my client tells me that he was at the library at the time of the murder. There are numerous variations on this, such as my client would say, or my client has just informed me, with added inflection and emphasis. Each conveys a particular message to the judge given the circumstances. In hospitals and medical facilities, they have security investigate fire alarms before calling in the fire department unless the sprinkler system actually goes off. Since they cannot announce over the PA system that the fire alarm is going off, the page Mr. Gallagher to location. This is the code for security to investigate that location for a potential fire. Paging Mr. Gallagher to room 229. I saw on a Tifu once that a biohazard symbol tattoo means one has HIV. According to the gay community. Wow, my friend has a biohazard tattoo but he doesn't have HIV/AIDS. I can't wait to never let him forget about this. UPC codes have certain things like this. If I remember correctly, the first half signifies a vendor and the second half is the product. The last small number is a checksum to verify the other numbers were read correctly. I vaguely remember when researching couponing that there was some trick there to that the UPC code on the coupon could be read to see if the coupon was valid for a single product or a whole family. But I could be remembering that one wrong. In online dating ads, if the girl mentions to bring roses, it is code for money and means she's a prostitute. 437,737 means herpes in online dating. I saw a profile of a girl saying she has 437,737 cats and thought I'm sure that number has some significance. Apparently if a person puts that number in their profile it means they have herpes and they want to let people know without getting embarrassed. Call your guy means you are about to get ditched by your cokehead friends. When you're on a Windows computer, Alt F4 will unlock the extra core, letting your computer run way faster. Common examples would be the hobo symbols and things like code white being a kidnapping at Walmart. 2319. We have a 2319. In the UK, a tannoy announcement that calls for a RMR. Sans to come to X location is code for a fire gone threat in that area. This is because Sans is one of the most uncommon names in the UK, so it's very unlikely this chap's gonna turn up at the location. Especially if it's on fire. I was in Waterloo Station and had a Mr. Sans call to platform 2 once and noped the duck out. Little while later and the station was closed. The doors in a building that you have to push are in the direction of the emergency exit. The code printed on your beer cases or the bottom of cans, etc. tells you when it was made. Usually a letter followed by a series of numbers. The letters correspond with a month. A equals January, B equals February, and so on. You can tell which beer has been sitting for a while, or even worse, the places who don't rotate and should be avoided. Source: worked and managed an off sale for a few years in university. Edit: they don't use I to avoid confusion, so your December beer starts with M. A friend of ours vs a friend of mine. Googling the exact wording of an error message quite often results in the steps to fix it. Friends of Bill W equals AA meeting. Truck drivers have some sort of code. I don't know all of it. Generally, if they are passing you, you can double flash your headlights to let them know they can safely merge back. They may flash their back, not brake, lights to say thank you. Useful and polite. I've also used this with my husband when convoying to cars. So you can pass together.